Hi folks, Jem here and welcome back to my creative space. I'm just spending an evening playing in my creative space, but I tell you what I'm going to do. A couple of days ago I posted a picture of this piece of work online, and I had several comments asking me how this was done. So what I thought I'd do this evening while I'm up here is to show you a quick video around how to do this, and maybe it's another technique for you for the gel plate. So I've done a few here, and these are actually done on the gel plate using Pearl-X powders. Now can you see that? There is another make that makes this same product, and I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but I will post it at the top of the screen. So these are little very, very fine, I believe they're mica powders, and I have a whole range of these which I bought probably 15 odd years ago. I was doing lots and lots of card making at the time, and I bought them for that. And to be honest with you, I've really not used them a whole lot. So when I discovered I could use these with the gel plate, I was really excited, and you can get some really lovely effects. So as I say, this was the one I did this week, and this is done just using one colour. It's a yellow gold, but I've also done some more. This one, some little dragonflies, and then I've got some others which have been done through stencils. There we go. So that's the sort of thing that you can achieve, and really it's a very simple process. If you can pull a gel print, you can do this. So I'm going to do a quick video this evening showing you how to do these. So I'm going to be using my 5x7 gel plate. You can use whatever you want, and I'm actually going to be using the same little masks that I used for this dragonfly one here. As you can see, they've still got the paint on from that. Now I cut these these are, excuse me, that's better. These are made from stencil plastic, which I've cut on my Cricut machine. And so they're just little masks. Now, you can cut masks out of cardboard if you want to make your own and you don't have a Cricut machine, or otherwise there's companies like PM Artist Studios. They do an amazing range of masks that you can use on the gel plate. But I'm going to be showing you how to use these this evening. These are the ones I used for that other piece that I put online this week, and again they're just some little shell masks that I cut out. But you can also do exactly the same technique with a big stencil that covers your whole plate, and that's how things like this have been done. It's a beautiful mandala stencil that I have. This one is more of a spiral, or what we call in New Zealand a koro shape. Okay, so to start with, I'm just going to take these and I'm going to place them on the gel plate, and this is not random, but you know, in a design that is pleasing to your eye, shall we say. I don't know whether I'm going to use all of them, and I quite like the effect I got when I made this one, with some of the pieces hanging off the edge. So I might try to do that again. Actually, these dragonflies are, I made these because my granddaughter she has a birthday coming up in December, and she has asked for a junk journal. I made one for her older sister last year, or earlier in the year, and it seems like I've started a little bit of a trend. So I'm starting to prepare some backgrounds that I think could be used in her journal. So she's going to be 11, and she loves pastel colours, and she loves dragonflies and butterflies and things like that. Okay, so you press your masks down, and then you grab your powders and choose whatever colours you like. I don't know how well you can see that. No. Okay, I'm going to choose, I'm going to do similar colours to this one, because as I say, these are going to be for her journal. I might add in a little bit of white this time and see what happens. And I've got a different pink there. Alright, we might not use all of those, but we'll see. You have to excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat this evening. So the other thing you need is a little paintbrush. Well, you need a soft paintbrush, and depending on whether you're putting on large areas of colour through a stencil or small areas of colour through a mask, that will determine what size paintbrush you want. So for this one, I'm actually just aiming to do the wings of these dragonflies. So obviously I'm wanting quite a small brush. So I'm going to start off, I'll take the lid off these. Ooh. As I say, now these cost me $6.50 each. I don't know how much they are now. As I say, I have had these quite some time. Before I put this video up online, I'll have a bit of a research. As I say, I'll find the other name and the other make of these, and I'll see if I can find some idea about how much they are. Alright, so there we go. I like to organise my colours like that so that I can see them. Yep, you can see those too, that's good. And then now you really only need the tiniest amount. So I'm going to start off with the purple there, and you just dip a dry paintbrush in, and then you just start very gently brushing it on. Oh, I'm just going to grab my glasses. There, that's better, I can see what I'm doing now. And these blend beautifully, so you can see, hopefully you can see on camera, that's got, I don't know what colour that, interference green, aha, so it's not white. I was going to say that actually looks, it's got like iridescent green when you put it on, but you can blend them. Now you do want to be quite careful not to get them outside of your mask or stencil area where you don't want those colours, because they are pretty hard to get off your gel plate. I do tend to wipe around the outside of my masks before I put paint on, just to try and get rid of any excess. I can see here there's some of that that whitey green has flicked across there. I'm just going to stick my mask down a bit harder. I might come in with a little bit of that pink down the bottom there. And as you can see, they really blend beautifully. So I love it when products overlap between different different craft or art forms, because that means I get so much more out of them. I bought these originally if you're stamping and you stamp with what's it called? It's like an embossing ink pad. Can't remember the proper name for it, but you put your stamp on this clear, it's almost like a glue pad, and then stamp and then put your embossing powder on top. These work with that in that same way. You just brush them over your image that's been stamped with the I can't think of the name of it, but it's as I say, the gluey pad that you use with embossing powders. All right, so I do just tend to give it a little bit of a blow when I've finished, and there you go. So you do each of them like that, and you can mix and match your colours. You'll see on this one there's a whole range of colours there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do all of those, and then we'll come back and I'll show you the next step. Okay folks, as you can see, I've filled in all of those, the wings, with Pearl-Ex powders. I hope there's not too bad a reflection on there. As I say, it's evening here, and I do have my ring light on. But I filled in all of those, and I have just taken a slightly damp cloth and wiped off where I could see I'd spilt some around the outside. A little bit I don't think matters, it all adds to the effect. So next job is to cover that with a layer of paint, and I'm going to be using, this is a Reeves acrylic, and it's rose red. So must be coming towards the end of this. Quite big blob, so we'll see if that's enough. So this is going to be the same as this turquoisey layer on here. And as you're rolling, you want to just make sure that you're getting into all of those little bits around the stencils. A little bit too much on there. Let's brayer some of that off. There we go. So nice thin coat like that. And what we need to do now is to leave, is actually we're going to pick the stencils, the masks up very carefully. And you can pop those, if you've got a piece of paper, I'll use the back of this one, you can pop those down and you might get a little print off some of those. Just might make for the start of an interesting background. So I'm going to very carefully use my palette knife. Drop that one on the floor. I'll retrieve that in a moment. There we go. Now this we're going to leave to dry. Let's just pop that up there. I'm going to press these, and you'll see I've got great print on my hand. And that just serves two purposes. One, you can start to use that. You can use that as the start of a background if you want to, but also it takes helps to take some of the paint off your stencils or masks, whatever you care to call them. Right, so I'm going to retrieve the last one off the floor, and I might go and pop these into soak so that we can give them a wash, and when this is dry we'll come back and show you the final stage. Okay folks, we're back. This is dry, and so what we're going to do now is to put the next layer on. Now I really like the black effect here for the bodies of the dragonflies. You can use any colour you like. I did debate about using this one. This is a gorgeous sort of metallic-y green, but just for consistency I'm going to do black, and I'll show you how it comes out. And when I used this one earlier, it came out in great big blobs, so I'm just being really careful. You might need a little bit more. So we're going to put a thin layer of this black all the way over. There, see, that was actually enough, 2 little blobs. Just giving it a background. There we go, nice and smooth, good even coat. Roll my brayer off. Alright, where's my piece of paper gone? There we go. Alright, I'm using reasonably thick paper. This is from a sketch pad, as you can see. I'm going to pop that down. And smooth it off. Now you can do this with your hands. This is never remember the name of them. Baron. There we go. And you can buy these, but equally you can make them. Now Mr. Jem is multi-talented, and if I show him a picture of something, he's actually pretty good at recreating it for me. But I'll show you these. I've got 2 that he's made, and what they are is a circle of wood with some kind of knob on the top that he's found in his workshop. This one is just an ordinary wooden knob off chest of drawers fixed to a circle of wood. And then what I do when he gives them to me like that is I cut quite a thick piece of felt, like the type of felt you might use underneath the foot of a chair, or you know, when you want to stop things scratching a surface. So I cut a circle of wood to fit, and there we go, one homemade Baron. Is it easier than using my hands? I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I get a bit of extra pressure. I think, you know, you'll find that some people prefer one way and some the other. I can go either. But I do quite like this, and this one seems to fit my hand quite nicely. This one a little bit taller, you can push down on it more. This one just sort of fits for me. So I always suggest, before you go buying stuff, see if you can make it. Hey, if you, well, having said that, if you can afford to buy it, that's awesome. But look, you know, a lot of us are on a budget these days, and this is really just made from a couple of bits of upcycled timber and things that are lying around in Mr. Jem's workshop. So if you have a handy other half, or indeed yourself are handy, have a go. All right, let's have a quick look. We may need to leave this to dry for a bit longer. No, I think that's going to pull quite nicely. All right, I'm going to come from this side so that you can see. Actually, that pink was probably a little bit dark. Do I want to leave that a little bit longer? I think I might. I'm going to leave that to dry just a little bit longer. And I'll come back and show you in a minute. Okay folks, I've given this about another quarter of an hour, 20 minutes. I actually got doing something else. And we'll see whether we can put any more of those beautiful iridescent powders up now. Let's have a look. A few more. As I say, I'm going to get a bit of a different look using the different colours. The black has sort of overwhelmed that pink a little bit. And we've left a lot of it on there. Okay. But actually, you know what? I still quite like that effect. What do you think? That's different from my first one. And I think, although it doesn't say so, this rose red is actually quite transparent. And that I think has allowed the black to come through much more on there. So slightly different effect, but what you can see is the beautiful effect you get when you use these powders. So what I'm going to do now is clean off my plate, and then I'll show you how to use the same powders but with a big stencil rather than small masks. Okay everyone, so I've got a stencil to use. Before I do, I have to just show you this. Look at this. That's the print I pulled to clean off the plate. So there you go, amazing. Some of those what they call ghost prints are just as fun as the rest, and I know that I can use that as a background in my granddaughter's journal. So there you go, bonus. All right, I'm going to show you the stencil that I used to create this one, and this was bigger. It's been cut down and pieces have been used for various things. So this is the stencil I'm going to be using, and it's actually a cake decorating stencil, I think, and I picked it up somewhere in my travels. Now I'm going to be sticking with my 5x7 plate, and so I'm just going to place this maybe just halfway on like that, and I'm going to do exactly the same as I did before. I'm going to pick some colours and I'm going to use a brush and put them through in the stencil. Now this time I'm going to use a little bit of a bigger brush. As you can see, this is a stencil brush, because I'm going to go for more sort of concentrated areas of colour like this, rather than the quite delicate work that we did on these two. So just exactly the same. I'm going to kind of stick with the same colour schemes, because as I say, I'm creating backgrounds for my granddaughter's journal, and she's really, I'd like a little bit of the continuity in colours. So again, even with this big brush, you just want a tiny amount, and this time I'm going to just brush areas of colour like that. And you can see you only need the tiniest amount of these powders. So they really are economical. Now I want to have a look. That one that looked white in the pot has actually given us this beautiful green, iridescent sort of green. So I might try a bit of that. I might also go back to this pink. again, I'm just going to go for random, and that's a pink gold. A little bit of blending across into that purple. I'm going to come in with a stronger pink as well. If you want to pick out more specific areas of the stencil with your colours, you can always use your smaller brush again. But with these, I quite like the big bands of colour. I'm going to use the circular edges of this stencil and really work our colours into those. So I'm going to finish this off. Once I've got all my colours on, we'll come back and do that first layer of paint. Okay folks, so there we are. Now I know that looks a little bit garish as it is, but remember that the colour on the back will kind of take the edge off that. Now this, as you can see, was done with the same stencil, and I'm actually going to use this same colour, the purple, to pull this one. So what I'm going to do now, because I'm only going to do a one colour pull now, so what I'm going to do is to really carefully lift this stencil off. So in some ways using a stencil like this is slightly simpler because you're only doing the one layer. Now I'm using, these are great student colours. They're made by Montmartre. They're acrylic. This is violet. Don't get a huge range of colours, or not in the shop where I buy them anyway, but they're really great for gel printing and for just kind of playing and having a go. So there we go. I just use a little palette knife with these, as you can see. I'll put the lid back on, because that's going to make a bit of a mess if that goes over. Alright. So let's brayer that out. Spread a reasonable coat. There we go, nice and even. Just brayer that off. And I just need to grab a piece of paper. I'm just going to split this one in half. There we go. Pop that on there. Now I'm going to do the same as I did last time. I'm going to give this a bit of a work over with the Baron, and then I'm going to leave it. And it's actually it's a bit wet and chilly outside at the moment, and it's not the warmest up in my studio this evening. So I'm going to leave this. I'm going to give it a good sort of 10-15 minutes. Make sure I've got good contact all over. And then, as I say, I'm going to leave this sort of 10 to 15 minutes before I pull. So I will be back. Okay folks, so that's been drying. Whilst that's been drying, I've done a little bit of research. So the Pearlix powders which I've been using, these are made by a company called Jacquard, and I looked on their website, and I'll link that down below. These are available from jacquard.com for $6.99 US, or if you are like me and in New Zealand, I found these in Warehouse Stationery for $9.99 New Zealand dollars. Now, I also found the name of the other one that I couldn't think of earlier was Perfect Pearls, and that's made by Ranger, and I've managed to find that online for $9 New Zealand, but I know that the Ranger products are available pretty much worldwide, so I'll link both those websites below. I also found a quick 2-minute YouTube video on Pearlix versus Perfect Pearls, so a good review there, and I'll pop that down below as well. If you're interested in getting yourself some, I would say just get a couple of colours to start off and see how you go. But I also noticed on the Pearlix site, they had a whole load of other suggestions about how to use them, so I'm going to make some time over the next few days to have a look at that, and who knows, you might be watching another video using them in a different medium. Alright, here we go. So look, it's worth that extra 10 minutes waiting. There we go. Look at that. Hopefully you can see that. Let's hold that up for you. Oh, popped off. Wow. Okay, so there we go folks, a couple of different ways to use your powders. These ones are both with the stencil, and so was that one. As you can see, that's the same stencil. And then these ones were done with the powders, using them through the masks. And again, I meant to say, you can pull these with a single layer if you want to. That was pulled with the single layer, and so you can see the white outline where the masks were. So instead of doing the 2 layers like we did with this one to get the black outlines on the dragonflies, these were just pulled with the 1 layer in the same way that we did the stencils. So there you go, that's the effect you can achieve with your masks and your bonus cleanup sheet. Alright, I hope you've enjoyed this folks. Any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Would love you to give me a thumbs up if you like what you see, but other than that, ka kite anō.